frustration of the sacrifice of Daksha. Verse 22 through verse 26, which is the conclusion of the chapter. We'll read verse number 24 together. So that's the purport. Akram Yorasi Dakshaya Sita Dharena Hetina Chindan Apitad Udartum Nasaknot Triambakas Tada. Then Virabhadra, the gigantic personality, sat on the chest of Daksha and tried to separate his head from his body with sharp weapons, but was unsuccessful. Text 23. Shastrir Astranvitar Evam Anir Bina Tvacham Hara Vaisamyam Param Apano Dadyo Pashu Patis Chiram. He tried to cut the head of Daksha with hymns as well as weapons, but still it was hard to cut even the surface of the skin of Daksha's head. Thus Virabhadra was exceedingly bewildered. Text 24. Dristva Samgnapanam Yogam Pashunam Sa Patir Make Yajamana Pasho Kasya Kayat Tena Harak Chira Dristva Samgnapanam Yogam Pashunam Sa Patir Make Yajamana Pasho Kasya Kaya Tena Harak Chira Dristva Samgnapanam Yogam Pashunam Sapatir Make Yajamana Pasho Kasya Kaya Tena Harak Chira Dristva Samgnapanam Yogam Pashunam Sapatir Make Yajamana Pasho Kasya Kaya Tena Harak Chira Dristva, having seen Samganapanam for the killing of animals in the sacrifice, Yogam, the device, Arshunam, of the animals, Sa, he, Virabhadra, Pati, the Lord, Make, in the sacrifice, Samganamana, Pasho, who was an animal, to say it, in the form of the chief of the sacrifice, Dasya, of Daksha, Kayat, from the body, Tena, by that device, Aharat, severed, Sira, his head. When Virabhadra saw the wooden device in the sacrificial arena by which the animals were to have been killed, he took the opportunity of this facility to behead Daksha. Purport. In this connection, it is to be noted that the device used for killing animals in the sacrifice was not designed to facilitate eating their flesh. The killing was specifically intended to give a new life to the sacrificed animal by the power of Vedic mantras. The animals were sacrificed to test the strength of Vedic mantras. Yagnas were performed as a test of the mantra. Even in the modern age, tests are executed on animals in the physiology laboratory. Similarly, whether or not the Brahmanas were uttering the Vedic hymns correctly was tested by sacrifice in the arena. On the whole, the animals thus sacrificed were not at all the losers. Some old animals would be sacrificed, but in exchange for their old bodies, they received other new bodies. That was the test of Vedic mantras. Virabhadra, instead of sacrificing animals with the wooden device, immediately beheaded Daksha to the astonishment of everyone. Saruvadastadattesham karma tattasya pasyatam uta preta pasachanam anyesham tad viparyaya. Upon seeing the action of Virabhadra, the party of Lord Shiva was pleased and cried out joyfully. And all the bhutas, ghosts, and demons that had come made a tumultuous sound. On the other hand, the Brahmins in charge of the sacrifice cried out in grief at the death of Daksha. Juhavitak chirastasmin Dashignav Amarisita Amarshita Tadeva Yajaman Dagdava Pratistad Guyakalayam. Virabhadra then took the head and with great anger threw it into the southern side of the sacrificial fire, offering it as an oblation. In this way, the followers of Lord Shiva devastated all the arrangements for sacrifice. After setting fire to the whole arena, they departed for their master's abode, Kailas. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the fourth canto, fifth chapter of the Śrimad Bhāgavatam, entitled Frustration of the Sacrifice of Daksha. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unlitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Sva Padantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shriuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavams Cha Shri Rupam Sagujatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitams Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bando Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Brindavaneshwari, Vishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye. Vanchakalpatarubhyas cha, Kripasindhubhya eva cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktamrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Why are there only four of us plus myself here, and in Prashadam there'll be like 45 people? Is there a mystery to that? So the events have come to this, that the anger, animosity, provocation created by Daksha's very offensive, envious attitude towards Lord Shiva, which overlapped to his very unnaturally and crazily implicating in his own mind his daughter, his beloved youngest daughter, in his animosity towards Lord Shiva, to the point where she, out of great sense of loyalty and integrity and honor to Lord Shiva and to the principles of truth and what's right and religion, gave up her body. And Daksha did nothing to prevent that. And Prabhupada remarked how he saw that someone is being accosted or attacked, crying for help on the street here in New York City when he first came, and no one would come to help. People are thinking, well, if I try to step in and help, then I might get hurt, I might get killed, or in some crazy, topsy turvy, justice turned upside down system, then I might be the one put on trial for stepping in to stop the perpetrator. The recent case here in New York City, all about that, which brought great outrage from good and decent people. Why is this Good Samaritan being persecuted for stopping a madman from threatening to kill people on a New York City subway train? Daksha can't claim that. It's not that Sati's taking her own life would have harmed him. It was simply his false pride and honor. so-called honor. Ultimately, and he was so blind and continued. You would think, oh my God, what have I done? I let my daughter commit suicide. Actually, his pride and ego became even more hard, to the point where the inevitable retaliation, the great dust storm, the great darkness, the coming of Lord Shiva's horde, he and his immediate assistants couldn't even understand what was the cause of this. Whereas his chaste wife, I think her name Prasuti, she's one of the daughters of Kardama Muni, if I'm not mistaken, or sister to Devahuti. Anyway, very exalted personality. She could understand that this was the harbinger that Daksha must be prepared to die for his terrible offense. We'll see in the beginning of the next chapter, Prabhupada sets the record straight. There's so much debate in this confused, kind of ungodly world today. What is the purpose or efficacy or ultimate necessity for capital punishment? Where is that? This is in the 4th verse of the next chapter. So those who were left alive, all the priests and other members of the sacrificial assembly and all the demigods, having been defeated by the soldiers of Lord Shiva and injured by weapons like tridents and swords, approached Lord Brahma with great fear. And offering their obeisances, they began to speak in detail of all the events which had taken place. Just see, Lord Brahma and Vishnu had already known that such events would occur in the sacrificial arena of Daksha. We see Srila Prabhupada that he exhibited this qualification of exalted personalities, Tri Kala Gna. He's knower of the past, of the present, and of the future. Just simply by a loving surveillance glance on those who became his followers, desiring to become his sheltered disciple, time and time again, practically unanimously, everyone felt that he could see my past, everything that I had gone through in the struggle for existence in this material world of birth and death, who I am now, and filled with encouragement that if I take to this joyful process, the Parama Karuna Pahu Dvijana, they bring a process which is simply joyful, then you can become like me, completely purified and reinstated in your original loving relationship with Krishna. This is the purpose of having such power. Love of Godhead is the topmost power. It is the most forceful. It is based on love. And actually, that was Lord Nityananda's encouragement, or we could even say, because he's in the role of the elder brother, they're not brothers from the same mother as Gauranitai. They're brothers from another mother. Hadai Pandit, not Hadai Pran. Don't get puffed up out there, Hadai Pran. You're not the father of Lord. And what was What was his, Lord, you know his mother's name? Padmavati? Maybe. Anyway, so Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra. But he said, if you kill these two, Jagai and Madai, you have to kill everybody. So so we're going to kill the demons. That's the position of the Yuga Avatar. That's the position of of Krishna and all. You have to kill the demons and or at least suppress them. Right. Padmavati, that's correct. So we're going to kill them with love. We kill them with kindness. So if that is your selfless and very pure, and especially in Kali Yuga, extremely rare to find and beautiful disposition, outlook, mentality, then you're qualified to have such powers as being Trikalagana. Vedaham Samatittaini Vartamani Charjuna. I know everything that happens in the past and everything that's going to happen in the future. Lord Vishnu is omniscient, and he therefore knows what would happen at Daksha's sacrificial arena. For this reason, neither Narayan nor Lord Brahma attended the great sacrifice performed by Daksha. So the point I'm making here is they're coming to Lord Brahma for an explanation. Duh! What are you, stupid? When Lord Brahma heard everything from the demigods and the members who had attended the sacrifice, he replied, you cannot be happy by executing a sacrifice if you blaspheme a great personality and thereby offend his lotus feet. You cannot be happy in this way. Well, gee, I guess we didn't think of that, huh? These are the most exalted, most intelligent personalities in the, and they have to be told this. To just see how dangerous and how insidious is this Maya, this illusory energy. Make people forget their soul, forget common sense, or even protest against common sense. This is Kali Yuga. The demons, they band together and make a colossal clique, and they try to propagate their demoniac and nonsensical ideas. With great intelligence, they calculate how to, and they're very patient, just like a snake. A snake is the epitome of an envious creature. They'll wait and wait and wait, and they'll simply store their venom, and they have no compunction of biting the person who's feeding them. They're the ultimate disloyal betrayers. These are demons. And they're very clever to understand how the allurements of sense gratification bewilder the minds of all living entities, all human beings, especially in this age of Kali, and they use that to their advantage or to what is good's disadvantage. This is a very extraordinary situation where the leaders of universal affairs are put into such illusion, and the reaction is very severe. Actually, we see in this coming chapter, Brahma satisfies Shiva, and Shiva explains how he doesn't feel personal animosity. He has done this just to right their wrong. But yet, still, all the different personalities because they did this. One was showing his teeth while smiling, while Daksha was insulting and cursing Lord Shiva. So therefore, he won't have teeth anymore. And the only way that he can satisfy his hunger is by eating chickpeas and some other type of flour chewed by his disciples. And many other examples. And Daksha himself, we just hear it, his head was thrown. How was it? What was the end of his head? The southern side of the sacrificial fire. So his head was destroyed. All right? So now you have the head of a goat, which is quite humiliating and frightening. If you see a human being with a goat's head, you'd be like, oh my goodness, very repelling. So he have to live the rest of his life in that humiliating state, being in a constant state of penance and um, always thinking about why he came to this point. Lord Brahma explained to the demigods that although Daksha wanted to enjoy the results of fruitive sacrificial activities, it is not possible to enjoy when one offends a great personality like Lord Shiva. So we see here that the sacrifice seemingly went on. Lord Shiva is insulted. He's not given a seat, and arrangements were going on. Period of time passed. Sati having a conversation with Lord Shiva. She wants to go. Lord Shiva advises against it. She goes. She gives up her body. He continues on with the sacrifice. In his mind, or in the mind of his immediate followers, they think everything is a-okay, hunky dory. They don't understand. So in the same way, people make offenses. They do the wrong thing. They even seem to continue to be successful, even seemingly become more successful, expand, you know, place their sphere of influence in other places, move it around, get a bigger name for themselves. This question is often asked. Why is it that bad people seem to prosper, whereas good people seem to suffer? And the answer that is given, Prabhupada describes in one purport that Krishna, he's allowing them to fully fulfill their desire to come to the point that when their karma runs out or their good pious credits come out or come to an end, that what? Oh, okay, I can try one. I'm chewing like 8 inches of ginger a day. These, well, not this, maybe 6 inches. What was I saying? All right. So then when the punishment comes down and then when everything is taken away, then they'll be forced to really get to the bedrock bottom of their offensive mentality. Or we have that common saying, give them enough rope so they can hang themselves. Lord Brahma explained to the demigods that although Daksha wanted to enjoy the results of fruitive sacrificial activities, huh? Someone who wants to perform even in the realm of devotional service, but Prabhupada says in one place, their mentality is karmatmika, contaminated with desire for sense gratification. They cannot achieve the ultimate goal of pure devotional service and love of God. And at some point, somewhere along the way, they will be frustrated. And along the way, for everyone in this material world, is markers. It's called repeated birth and death. So this lifespan, especially in this lifespan in the Kali Yuga, is so short, it is meant to come to the realization. If you're living 10,000 or 100,000 years, even 1,000 years, and you don't get old until the very end, or even you stay youthful in some situations, there's no even awareness that your lifespan is reaching the end. But in this Kali Yuga, but the point is, you still feel yourself, you're an eternal spirit soul, whether you're in Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, whether it's 100,000 years, 10,000 year, 1,000 year, 100 year, or what to speak of less, lifespan. So many people we see today, I don't feel like I'm old. I feel like I'm in the same spirit. There's a nice video that was made the year before George Harrison passed away. He was 57 years old at the time. He said, well, 40 years have gone by so quickly. That's when they started the Beatles, right? He was 17 years old. But I still feel the same person. All of this thing that, and he was talking about music because he's a musician, that, oh, this is music for young people and this is, your era of music. He just said, this is nonsense, that everyone can appreciate really sincere, in this case, music. So what to speak of devotees have nothing to do with, they've transcended. Krishna says, if you become conscious of me, you will transcend all the obstacles of conditional life by my grace. This is an obstacle to think I'm young, I'm old. That's why we have the changing bodies, to shake people up, to make them contemplative, put the big changing bodies and people, oh, that's you over there, like, and then, oh, that's you, the old guy with the beard and holding the bank bag of money, and the big pot belly, but you're none of those things. So Brahma is saying it was good for Daksha to have died in the fight because if he had lived, he would committed such offenses at the lotus feet of great personalities again and again. This kind of hints that, or alludes to, it wouldn't have just stopped at Lord Shiva. He would have found some others that he would make some type of unnecessary quarrel or envious situation with. We see with the creation of social media that some people, they make their whole life and existence just criticizing others. And then they, like attracts like, and they have other people with the same mentality. And you look in the, what do you call it? The spool, the comments, and these people are just going back and forth and on, ad nauseum. So it was good that he died in the fight, because if he had lived, he would have committed such offenses at the lotus feet of great personalities again and again. According to Manu's law, when a person commits murder, punishment is beneficial for him, because if he is not killed, he might commit more and more murders. Isn't that so, huh? Actually, they know, because I'm already a murderer, the penalty will be there. So right now I'll commit more murders. The penalty is going to be the same. So I got like a free ticket. There was one really infamous serial killer. and he was put in prison, and another murderer, not as heinous as this person, just thought, man, this will be a real notch on my gun that I killed this serial murderer, and that's exactly what happened. And he's become famous. He's become like a folk hero, because he killed whoever it was. If he is not killed, he might commit more and more murders and therefore be entangled in his future lives for having killed so many persons. Therefore, the king's punishment of murder for a murderer is appropriate. And also, it's quite a deterrent. It's a deterrent. Those who are only devotees can be fearless of death. Prabhupada would point this out time and time again in his lectures. Everyone is afraid of death. And anyone who says they're not is simply lying. So you see, I'm going to be put on death row, and then I'm going to have a lethal injection or electrocuted or hanged by the neck. These types of criminal murders go down because it is based on Manu's law. And ultimately, it's based on the reality and the knowledge that the soul is eternal. The people without knowledge, you're killing him, it's terrible, You're a Christian, it shouldn't be an eye for I think it was a Gandhi who said, an eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. No, it's mercy on this person, because in his next life, he's not hampered by the terrible karma of being a murderer in his previous life. Therefore, the king's punishment is appropriate. If those who are extremely offensive are killed by the grace of the Lord, that is good for them. In other words, Lord Brahma explained to the demigods that it was good for Daksha to have been killed. Any questions or comments? Come forth, young man.
I just liked how I just want to comment on how I appreciated how you talked about the meaning of like why do good people,
You have to speak a little louder, maybe a little slower.
Okay. I liked how you talked about how
Not loud enough.
good people.
That's better.
How good people don't prosper, but it seems that evil prospers. And you talked about how Krishna lets bad people.
Well, it's not that good people don't prosper.
Yeah.
But bad people prosper also. But in this Kali Yuga, it seems to be more that the bad people prosper. Okay?
And then that explains how Daksha gets his comeuppance.
Right.
So I just like how you.
Yeah, so we don't want to ourselves ever be implicated in such a, what would you call it, ascension or a descension. The devotee is always aware of how their activities and thoughts, what they're building, what they're leading to, what they're, what do you call the word, cultivating. Their spiritual life is a cultivation. So yam yam vapi smaram bhavam ante kalevaram, whatever is one is thinking at the time of death, that doesn't mean like, you're dying in the next 1 minute. All right, think of Krishna. Okay. But you have to, throughout your whole life, prepare your whole psychology, your whole abhiman, your whole self-conception to be a devotee of Krishna. And that is done by practice, sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti practice leads to maturation, isn't it? So they're practicing So they get the result in due course of time. Yes.
Comment and a question. The comment is that an example of what you're saying, like the Pandavas, they were the righteous ones, but then seemed like they were suffering so much for 14 years, and they had to go in exile and all these hard things, and then even on the battlefield, so many setbacks and different things happened. But then ultimately, Krishna arranged everything how it was supposed to be.
I think I mean, there's many explanations as to why. There's in the chapter 9 of the first canto, Bhishma Dev passing away in the presence of Lord Krishna, and Mars Yudhishthira and his brothers come to see Bhishma Dev as he's passing away, and he's saying, "Oh, what sufferings that all of you had to undergo, injustices for the sake of Dharma." So good people will undergo the persecution of the demoniac and ultimately will emerge victorious. But nothing good comes without a struggle. And especially in Kali Yuga, there's much, it doesn't come easy. You have to really, really be a very strong soldier. What is that? One chapter in the final volume of Leelamrita, Krishna's Great Soldier. Chant Hare Krishna and fight.
Then
Fighting with the weaponry of pure devotional service, not guns and ammunition and starting a war, physical. We are at war. We've been at war ever since Prabhupada landed at the Commonwealth Pier on September 18th, 1965. He made a declaration of war against the illusory, against the Maya in these Western countries. That's Prabhupada's glorification. He is so kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya. We could even say he is so kindly fighting for the mission of Lord Chaitanya, on behalf of the mission of Lord Chaitanya, and delivering, just like the Allies in World War II, they liberated the Nazi death camps and they pushed the Nazis back, storming the beach of Normandy. The fascist party had occupied the entire European continent, threatening the United Kingdom. Very, very precarious. Churchill was begging Roosevelt, please come and help us. And everyone was in America we're not entering another World War I, and Roosevelt had campaigned on, what do they call it, the U.S. isolationism. That's the European problem. We have a whole ocean on the other side. We have our own, and we just went through we're in the midst of the Great Depression. Anyway, so many things. Then Japan, the ally of Nazi Germany, then they attacked the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor, and that entered the United States into the war. And they understood that it's not just fighting the Japanese, but we have to. So that was a huge effort, and it's, in people's minds, it's like, wow, that's so heroic. They call the men and women of that period, just like, what do they call it, Gen Z and X, Y, Z, and what all,
actually, the babies born today and like the last month are now called Generation Beta.
Generation Beta, okay.
Alex Alpha's done.
I'll probably ask you that every day for the rest, because I'm too lazy to memorize that. But they called, before the baby boomers, which I can claim I'm part of that, the great generation. So fighting for what's right is glorious. That's Arjuna is being told that too. Here's the right cause. Anything else?
That then if you like, we should. I wanted to hear about the examples of like when devotees get offended like Lord Shiva, he got offended, but he didn't really do much about
Right.
it.
It
Like,
said his
how,
attitude
from their
was,
point of view, how should we're going to get offended too, probably in so many ways. So
Yeah.
how can we act more like devotees?
well, what did Lord Shiva do? He removed himself. He left silently. And Prabhupada says his conduct was exemplary. And you could see that Lord Shiva on his own account, but then when his wife was insulted, then he acted. And he created the demon, or brought forth the demon that killed Daksha. Said, I am your servant, master. Order me. Tell me what to do. And he told, you go to the sacrifice and kill Daksha. And that's exactly what he did. And there's different levels of offense and implication, like sticks and stones might break my bones, but names will never hurt me. But if the offense comes to the point of interfering with the individual, what to speak of cooperative, the ability for individual and cooperative propagation of Krishna consciousness, if you try to interfere with that or try to, well, let's just say it simply, go about things in a way which was against Prabhupada's desire and instructions, thereby offending the devotees who are doing that, living and working and surrendering by right method, and you come in and like, that's offensive. Then you enter into the realm of ultimately getting enough rope to hang yourself sooner or later. There's the description in the 12th chapter of the Adi Leela. The following, we hear in the very beautiful chapter 10 and 11, the branch is the tree of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. So what is today? Today is Astami. So Saptami of the next phase of the moon of this month of Magh is the appearance day of Advaita Acharya. And we hear in the chapter 12 of the good sons of Advaita Acharya, and we hear of those who deviated from the path of Advaita Acharya, becoming monists and impersonalists. And it's described that they were detached from the original, their branch separated from the tree of Lord Chaitanya. They withered and died. So like if you cut a tree branch, like you say in the summertime and all the leaves and everything, they're all very nice. Sometimes we'll even cut and we'll decorate the altar. They have something in Vrindavan. What are Ainja would call them fleaves. They're not flowers and they're not leaves. They're all different colors. They stay for some time before they dry up, because it's an arid, semi-arid area there, so the vegetation knows how to go without water for longer periods of time. But ultimately, they dry up and dry. They dry up and wither away. But it's not immediate. Anything else? 9 o'clock on the dot. I've done my duty. Grantaraj Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus me, 6 people physically in the class ki jai.